Hey everyone, and welcome to the Millennial Motivation Podcast with me, James Hackney. Let's get inspired and let's get motivated. Hey guys, welcome to the Millennial Motivation Podcast. Another episode here with me, James Hackney. And if this is your first ever listen to the show, welcome first of all. And you're probably thinking, who is James Hackney? Well, in April 2018, I spent 2 weeks of my life in a depressed mindset. I was broken mentally, physically, just stuck in a house after my auntie and nan had suddenly passed away. And I went from that to building my confidence and traveling the world solo 6 to 7 months later, all by changing my habits and routines to building a killer millennial mindset. So today's show, I want to talk about a story that happened to me a couple of months ago. And it was all around me being ungrateful for my situation. I mean, we've all done it in the past, I'm sure you have. Think back to when have you ever taken your situation for granted? Because I guarantee there's somebody out there that would love to be in your situation, whether that be financially, mentally, physically, or just your health. I think it really builds up for us taking things for granted from a young age. And as millennials, we were the generation that grew up with TV. The Simpsons, Cartoon Network, Johnny Bravo, Kenan and Kel. Great TV programs. I mean, Kel loves orange soda. I love orange soda. But anyway, what was in between these shows? Adverts. And what do adverts do? It's in the name. They advertise things. The things that we don't need, but they tell us that we need them. The new shiny object. We would have our toys sat by us watching The Simpsons or Cartoon Network, and bam, brand new toy on the TV. And there's always an advert that sticks in my mind is the Toys R Us. You know the theme tune. There's a magical place, we're on our way there. Toys R Us. Man, that song has stuck with me for 25 years. And I'm sorry guys, but I think you're going to be singing it now for the rest of your day if you're out your head. Looking back, we never really appreciated what we had, and that still happens now. The toys have just changed though from your play toys to the more expensive toys, so your iPhones, cars, houses. But now kids nowadays, they just play on iPads and PlayStations, and you never see them on the streets. I mean, I'm sure you used to play Kirby or Hopscotch or British Bulldog for all my British listeners. And then there was Kiss Chase, which I think was a personal favourite between the lads. As I said, how many kids do you see playing on the streets these days and coming in when the street lights come on? I mean, I take that for granted. I'm grateful that I had that experience, because I always remember my mum telling me off for not coming in when the street lights had come on. So moving on into the story, and it really changed my view on any situation that I am in. And it left me, as I mentioned, shocked, speechless, and really disgusted in myself. So I was 4 or 5 months into travelling, and I was in South Korea, so coming towards the end of my travels. And I was in a place called Busan, which is South Korea. And where my mindset was, is I was worrying because I was worrying about money, which doesn't everyone seem to worry about money no matter what. But I was worrying about money because I had spent £8,000 in 5 months. When I was getting back to England, how would I save up again? I was way over budget I had planned, which I think we all do. We never kind of judge our money well. And I was hearing stories and listening to stories. It was hard to get on the property ladder. I wasn't going to get paid for another month until I came back and started my job. And I didn't want to go back to a job. So I was overthinking all the time, and it probably just started with a little thought about me having no money, but then I felt it spiral out of control. And have you ever been in that situation where you've overthinked something negative, and it's just spiraled into more of a negative cycle and out of control? You then feel even worse than you did at the start, and now your problem is a lot bigger than it actually should be, and you go in a foul mood, and that's all you can think about. So I was in a foul mood, and I was panicking, and I just wanted to be home. I felt lonely, and I was just digging a hole. So I woke up one morning in South Korea, and I thought, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do something for free, which was the biggest seafood market in South Korea. I was walking down the street at this fish market, which is a really tight and narrow street. The smell of fish in the air was intense. I felt like I was swimming in the sea. It stunk. And it was so noisy, there was people everywhere, and I was the only Westerner and the only person over about 5'5" for miles. And there were stalls either side that were selling fish, and fish that you've never seen and heard of. Glass tanks of hundreds of crabs rammed in. If you were to have the street in England, it would have been shut down due to health and safety easily. I even saw an octopus walking across the street. Now, I was in this mindset still, getting back to the mindset of just thinking negative thoughts and not enjoying the situation. But then I heard a Fuzzy Little Mermaid tune. You know, the one that's on the Disney films. That's Lion King. What's the mermaid one? Oh, sorry guys, it's a mermaid one. Under the sea, that one. So that was playing, and I could hear it somewhere in the crowd. And it sounded like it was on an old cassette. I then looked down and I saw a woman crawling in between the legs of people, lying on a skateboard chest down. She was filthy. Her jumper was ripped, it was dirty, and she was pushing a small speaker on wheels with her left hand, which was playing the Little Mermaid tune. And then in her right hand, she was begging in a hat. So she's on a skateboard. The skateboard had 3 wheels as well. And she was just crawling along with her elbow on the right side. Now, this woman had no legs. And she had got a bin bag tied around the bottom of her body because she had no legs. And she had made it out to be like a mermaid, which it didn't look like a mermaid at all. It looked like just a paper bag, a plastic black bin bag that she'd just pulled off the floor, trying to act like a mermaid, trying to wiggle the back of it, or trying to wiggle her bum. And I just froze and stopped and was looking at it, and I don't know how to describe how she looked. She looked in agony, despair, just crawling along in desperation. And I'd say she was around 40, and I'm struggling to describe it now. But I think if you would have offered this lady a painless way out of life, she would have bit your hand off. And I didn't know how to react in that situation. How would you react? What would you think, and what would you do? And I was thinking, what could I give this woman to improve her situation? So what do you think would have helped this woman? She'd obviously been through some horrific things during her life. What was her story? How has she got to this point? But what do you think would have made this woman's life any better and improved the situation? I put some money into her hat and I had to walk off. And she didn't even acknowledge that I put money in a hat or anything. She just carried on crawling. And then here was me, 10 seconds earlier, worrying about only having £4,000 in my bank account when I go back home. This lady will probably never ever see £4,000 in her life. And I'm pretty sure that if I would have given this woman all the money that I had, it still wouldn't fix her problem. What do you think this woman wanted the most? What do you think this woman craved and prayed for at night? I think as millennials, we can see these people who are on Instagram, who are in the media and these so-called celebrity programs, and we crave and we want what they've got, when in reality, we already have so much. You have money, no matter how much or little you think it is. It's more money than the majority of the world. You have a home, you have somewhere warm to sleep, you have food, you have clean water, you have electricity. You haven't got to get up in the morning, get on a skateboard and crawl through the streets of South Korea pretending to be a mermaid with a plastic bag around the bottom half of your body, pushing a speaker and begging for money so you can drink and you can eat and you can just literally live for that day. When as millennials, it's so easy for us to get clean water, to get food. We can walk downstairs, we can go to the shop, we can buy food, we can buy bottles of water, clean water. And how many times do you wish that you had more money? When you see all these TV programs and adverts, the so-called rich kids of Instagram filling up your Instagram feed, or people that seem to be rich online, when you know that most things on social media are all fake and they're all for just the attention. We want more money. We want to have what they have, when in reality, we have so much already to be grateful for. There are people out there who will look at you and think the same thing. They would love to be in your situation, no matter how negative you may currently think that may be. So I want to ask, what do you take for granted currently at this moment in time? And also, how would you have reacted in that situation where a woman who is on a skateboard crawling like how she was, how would have you reacted, and what would your thoughts be? And guys, let me know. Head over to Instagram at Millennial Motivation Podcast, or drop me an email at millennialmotivationpodcast@hotmail.com. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And guys, remember, your habits and your routines work towards your dreams. Thank you for listening to the Millennial Motivation Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you could head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show, as well as leave us a rating, that would be amazing. And if you have any questions, head over to Instagram at Millennial Motivation Podcast and drop me a DM.